Soon as our, oh my gosh, we go through this stuff like it's water.
That's super
Hannah
good.
loves it. I love it.
Hey, you've got this part of the video. You've got the live unedited edition, Home Gadget Geeks, Thursday night. It is August 12th. It's 8 p.m. or we're getting close to it in the Central Time Zone. We started a few minutes early. If you're out there in the chat room, check in and let us know that you can hear us loud and clear. It looks like everything's running okay. We're on episode 500 tonight, which is pretty cool. Got kind of a regular show planned for you guys, but we'll get started with a pour. Mike, what were you showing me before?
Oh yeah. So I found one of these upstairs. I was drinking this before we did the official crack. So vanilla bean blonde ale from Infusion Brewery, which is from here in Nebraska.
Yeah.
This is like, Jim, I think your family loves Blue Moon. You always have Blue Moon stock. This is what
we love that one too. Yeah, we drink
good.
a lot. Infusion's up in Bellevue. I mean Benson, right?
Is it?
I think they are.
That's a good question.
I think they're in Benson. Yeah, which is a suburb of Omaha. So I think
it just says Omaha. So yeah, it's probably the building's probably up in Benson.
We got some great beer. I mean, maybe not as good as what Joe sends us from Arkansas. But
no, that's what I was excited.
Tonight we are doing the cream stout. We kind of been waiting. This is the one, Mike, that I was like, this is probably the fancy one that you save for the anniversary party. Oh, I should have probably tilted that a little bit more. It's got a little bit of head on it. So a nice, dark, rich. I think we've had this one before.
I think so.
It is just delicious.
The one thing about the vanilla bean, Jim, you're getting old. This is how I knew.
Uyghur, you can't say things like that to me, but go ahead.
Well, yeah, I know that. Well, but like
I'm old. You're still young.
You're not old. Neither of us are old, but you're out of your prime, party days so usually when you're picking out a beer, like when I was young, like, ooh, the IPA with the high alcohol, the ABV, like what can I get the job done? And now what I look for is like, what's a sessionable, lowest alcohol content one that when I'm on a Saturday afternoon mowing the lawn, and if I have 3 or 4, it's not going to wreck my night.
Yeah.
Right. And so these vanilla beans are 4.8, which is like perfect. Like under 5% is great. Smooth. You can have some without being worried about, because any amount of alcohol nowadays, you just wake up with a headache. And so it's like, if I can just keep that low, but it's just funny, the way things change.
It is. And, I didn't start even drinking beer until I was 40. So it's been only in the last 10 years that I did. Yeah, it's a good one. Joe, thanks. Joe, thanks again.
Stout.
I think
good call on saving this one to the end, because this is...
Well, I think we got 1 or 2 more.
Do we?
Yeah, I think we do. I
think I only have 1 more in my fridge.
Well, maybe we got 1 more.
I might be behind on one.
I tried to move them. The kids, so my middle was over for dinner on Sunday night, and he opened the beer fridge, and I had taken all the beers Joe had sent and put them in the regular fridge, and he was like... He opened. He was like, I don't know which one to pick. What is this? What is this? All these different kinds.
You're like,
of beer.
Whoa, hands off the the podcast merchandise.
I think Sammy said those are Dad's special beers, and I'm like, okay, listeners.
That sounds like there's like weed infused in them. Those are for Dad's joints. Those are for his,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Knee joints. Don't be thinking. Anyways.
Yeah. Good call. I didn't even think about that.
So Sammy, she says that those are Dad's special beer, and I said, listen, the listeners sent them. I put them there so if others wanted to enjoy them, they could. So he grabbed the blueberry bramble that we had 2 weeks ago, and poured it. And he was like, "This is like a milkshake, Dad. This is like a smoothie." I was like, "Yep."
Yes,
pretty good, isn't it?
That stuff was good. That bramble was hard to beat.
It was super good. Guys, thanks for in the chat room. Thanks for letting us have last week off as well.
Brian says, whole new meaning to Miller High Life.
Exactly. Oh, it's coming. It's coming, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
so you took last week off too. I didn't know what you ended up doing there. Okay. Yeah. I was on that flight back, and I was doing some work, and I was like, I wonder if I could stream the show from the flight. And
I wanted to do
Wi-Fi was off.
I want to do 500 with you. I almost asked Sarah and Sammy to do 500 with me. That would have been a good. Also would have been a good 500 show. But as I was having dinner with them, I was struggling last week to kind of figure out what I was going to do for 500. And so I'm getting ready to ask him, and I'm like, no, this doesn't feel right. I'm just going to skip tonight. And And so we did. So, which is okay. I'm kind of glad. It was nice to have the weekend off. I didn't have Ask the Podcast Coach either
Oh,
on
so you had a whole
Saturday.
podcast weekend off.
So I finished the fire
That's why
pit.
you did
We'll
so
talk-
much work. I was going to say that's why you got so much work done around the yard.
Yeah, I got a lot of yard work done last week because I started early. So, Jim says not too late to bring him on for Cammy. They are out tonight. They decided to go see the grandkiddies and the grandkids, and so they're out. They're out with my wife. I have the place to myself. We'll get them back on. I'm gonna talk a little bit about that in the top 10 that we've got. We've got a little bit of ham radio updates with Mike. I'm going to talk a little bit about the new fire pit I put in. I got a new app I want to go over. So we're going to kind of a regular show. And then we're going to, at the end, we'll do a top 10. So I got this top 10 I put together that I think you're going to like. So
It'll be good.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Oh man, that's so good.
It's so good.
Yeah, this should be good. I'm trying to think what kind of cigar I'd want to have with this. We've got some
I want to be sitting around a fire is all I know. Like with that kind of beer, I could go out tonight if it wasn't so freaking hot and start a fire.
You know how, I'll save it for the show, but this new fire pit is freaking legit.
Well, now I got another reason to come down too.
Yeah. You need to come over. You need to come back and we'll do an evening. You bring the kids if you want.
Yeah.
So, all right, friends, thanks for coming out. Appreciate you guys. I was thinking back to how long we 10.5 years we've been doing this. Mike, you've been six years. We have the show number.
Wild.
We'll talk about that here in
6
just
years.
a few
Over
minutes,
6 years
but
now. Yeah.
I know.
Wow.
I know. It's kind of
I was telling Jim before that's the longest I have committed to anything like for one night a week. Right.
Yeah.
I guess, okay, maybe as a kid, soccer. Like I played soccer my whole life as a kid. But I'm just saying, like, as an adult.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's me too. I've never done 500 of anything.
I haven't tried to sell you on eBay for more than I bought you for, Jim. So I mean,
I know. It's all of a sudden I got traded on eBay. You're like, what happened? Oh, Uyghur got tired of me. Yeah,
Mike's doing a different podcast on Thursdays.
I'll mention this during the show, but remember the Bundaberg, the rum that I got from
I don't remember
from Justin in Australia. Well,
yeah.
This came in the let's just do this now. This came in HelloFresh this week.
Little ginger beer, huh?
Yeah, little ginger beer, non-alcoholic.
Ginger beer is non-alcoholic.
And so I was going to give it up. I was going to give it a
Well,
taste.
You don't drink that stuff straight, though.
I'm gonna. You ready?
It's so bitter. Have you ever had ginger beer straight?
No. Here we go.
Oh, okay.
Well, Werner's is like, that's ginger ale, right?
Yeah, ginger ale is different.
It's not
You
bad.
don't really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would. Do you have any vodka in the house?
Yes.
Oh, you should make a Moscow Mule. That's what that
I know.
Right? Like that would be really good.
I got beer and I'm trying to slow down the alcohol though. That's actually not bad.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, Justin. I pinged him immediately and I was like, look what came in the HelloFresh box. He goes, well, that's not what I said. I'm like, of course it's not.
It's not.
This is the ginger beer, but it's, you know what? So we use cock and bull when we make Moscow mules.
Okay.
Or you can make Mexican mules, or like that's the whole Russian mules. That's the whole thing, right? And the cock and bull is a little bit more tangy. This is kind of closer to Werner's, actually. Are you familiar with Werner's? Have you had Werner's before?
No.
It's I think it's a Wisconsin brand. I think
of ginger beer.
Of ginger beer. It's really a soda.
What's like the normal Hy-Vee ginger beer that you get? What's that brand? The cheap stuff. Because I think honestly that's all I've used. I gotta Google it. It's just like the most generic thing in the United States.
It's pretty good. It's refreshing.
That's like that is the top one on Google.
Which one?
The one you're drinking.
The Bundaberg?
Unless it heard me. That's literally the very top picture.
I never heard of this in my life.
I had neither. literally, if I go back,
and you just put in ginger beer,
no,
and
I
this was
gotta
the top
I
one.
literally, I gotta share it just because.
Oh, yeah. Hold on.
One sec.
I'll bring it in here.
I just searched ginger beer.
Oh no, oh dude, it is so listening to you.
When have I? That's
it. Did you say Bundaberg or
no.
did I?
Look,
You
just ginger beer. Why?
No,
Yeah,
but
I
I
did
mean,
say it.
did you
No,
say
you
it?
said it.
I think I said it. It's not
because
listening
I can't even say it.
Dude, that's crazy.
It knows we're connected via StreamYard, and you probably Googled it or something, and then
no.
Okay, but
anyways,
this stuff. I think.
Oh yeah.
Oh no, sorry, right here. Whatever this is. Gosling.
Yeah.
That's like the Hy-Vee special. Yeah, $5.98 for a
don't
pack.
Google this, but you should get Cock and Bull. That's a gin. That's.
I'll stop sharing my screen before I do that. Should I go on private browsing for that?
You might want to. Want to, but it's a really good ginger beer. It's almost spicy. It's so flavorful. It's almost like I think if you've ever just taken a piece of ginger and put it on your tongue.
Oh yeah,
it's kind of like that, but it makes
I do
great
love
mules.
Ginger ale. Like every time I'm on a commercial flight, ginger ale is my game. That's what I go for.
Yeah, no, right on. All right, friends, thanks for coming out. Let's celebrate 500. Here we go. Let's get this regular show for the most part. Here we go. This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geek show number 500. We finally made it to 500, recorded on August 12th, 2021. Here on Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all the favorite tech gadgets that find their way into your home. News, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the average tech guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the AverageGuy.tv studios here. And Mike, I was just on the deck a few minutes ago. It's pretty nice out there. Like,
is it better right now?
Yeah, it was. I mean, we've had a string of really nasty hot weather. I think it cleared out. I saw like 80 something tomorrow. And so pretty, that's 37 Celsius or something like that. So pretty nice going in, but I kind of had thoughts of maybe we'll talk about this a little bit later, but maybe broadcasting from the deck in the fire pit. But I couldn't get it pulled off.
Let's do that together sometime. We'll just set up a mic and a mixer and a big camera, and we'll just do it.
That'd be kind of fun. Yeah, it's configured now, so it'd be a lot easier.
That's the easiest night to get me down there, Jim, because I've already got it booked off. Like Thursday night is Jim's night, so it doesn't matter where I go, whether down to the basement or your place.
Take a night off. Maybe that's where we do the meetup. Everybody's begging to do a meetup. Maybe we just
do in your backyard.
Let's get into Omaha and show up in the backyard. It won't be the traditional meetup, but I got enough space. I could probably fit 20 guys back there, maybe more, 25. I think we've had a party that big here in the backyard. So,
well, we haven't talked about that idea since. So my company Carson just moved into our brand new headquarters, and they have a spot. We have up on the 6th floor, this massive outdoor patio that they want our stakeholders to use for stuff like that. And we have a huge training center. I think the next meetup we do your fire pit for dinner, but I think the main portion, let's just have it at Carson. Upstairs on the patio, it's a bar up there, so we have a bar on the top floor.
What?
So we have a full bar, and all the windows open up into this outdoor patio with a fire pit outside. And
they'd be okay with that?
They want us to use it. They've literally said we need stakeholders to bring people here. And then everyone just tell people how amazing Carson Wealth is, but come and then they have a whole training center downstairs where we can use for all the fun. And they have like projection, all the technology for it. Yeah. So we just built this brand new massive headquarters, and our CEO's like, can people please utilize this? Like, we want the community to use it. We want this to be a place everyone loves to come.
I've been waiting for the right venue to open
free.
Up. And
no charge. It's a bar upstairs. The venue. It's the coolest. It's pretty cool.
Oh boy, 500 exclusive. You heard it right here. Yeah. We may be able to pull this.
We for sure can pull this off now. Like I can guarantee it. I can get it whatever night you want. We can get it for a few nights.
That was always the pain, was trying to find that facility. Dave always did such a nice job. Dave McCabe always did such a nice job of finding it. We were at the Microsoft space, and I just didn't really want to hunt around to find one. But if you're gonna hand that kind of facility to me, Mike, all right, we'll get the wheels planning, and maybe by spring ish. We don't want to bring anybody to Omaha in the winter. You don't want to be here for that.
No.
So
especially if we're gonna do it outside.
Wow. Okay. I got to come see you at the office then, because I got to come check
Oh,
this
for
place
sure.
out.
You can come whenever you want. Yeah.
Well, we'll get it rolling. What else we'll get rolling is some show notes. There won't be a lot for this show, but I will post some of the content out there at theaverageguy.tv. This one easy to remember, slash HGG500. So tonight we got some ham updates from Mike. He's going to jump in here and get those done. I've got a fire pit update from, and I know you're kind of wondering, like, what kind of gadgetry is that? Well, you ever heard of a solo fire pit? Mike, have you heard of those solos? You know what I'm talking about?
I have. And
Okay.
I've heard the thing is it's like smokeless, right?
Yeah.
Or like less smoke or however it like ventilates. So
Yeah, so I kind of built that in. So we'll talk a little bit about that, and I kind of messed up my deck in the process, and then I got a top 10 list for you here on the show. So hang around for all of the show. That'll be a new segment, by the way. I'm going to try and recap in the beginning, starting tonight for the next 500, what we're going to cover. That way, people know, like, because we stick to the show notes pretty well, right? Don't you think?
Yeah, I think we do. Do we?
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we do. Well, not every night. I mentioned Dave McCabe a little bit earlier, but big thanks to Dave for doing something to homeservershow.com, because all my links on my site broke. Dave, what did you do? Like, I have 105 broken links from homeservershow.com. Could have been the forums, maybe. I don't know, something going on there. So big thanks, Dave. Thank you for giving me a weekend worth of work. Not a big deal. Mike, not a big deal at all, just to be honest. I just thought I'd give him a little hard time. Mike, I saw some pictures of you on Facebook, and it appears your children have also caught the ham radio bug. Talk a little bit about that.
They have. Yeah. So you guys know that I kind of go in these waves of like extreme getting into things and then back down. And ham radio is one of those where I have the up waves where I definitely spend a lot more time, but it's consistently something I'm doing every week, if not every day. Like I love ham radio. And I know a lot of you aren't into ham radio, but the cool thing about it is there's so many things you can do in it. You never get bored. There's digital modes, HF long distance, VHF, UHF short distance, and there's just so many things. And I've been in one of these really, 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 probably the highest I've ever been in ham radio. It's just like, I am just constantly doing it right now and constantly improving. That's in Jim. This follows kind of the way we do tech, right? When you have a project that gets you into it, something you can do, that's what reinvigorates me. So when the antenna blew down during that big windstorm and I needed to figure out a new antenna setup, that's what really got me back into it. So I've been playing around with all sorts of antennas and testing them and doing all that sort of stuff, spending a lot of time on UHF VHF, which is short distance, talking to your local peeps on repeaters, right? So I've been talking a lot with the local Omaha, Council Bluffs, and Bellevue hams. Actually, the Bellevue repeater, Jim, is some of my favorite people. They are really into the tech side of things. So we'll get on the repeater and they'll say, hey, turn on your HF rig. We're going to work with SSTV. So sending images over radio. And so they'll switch over and everyone will get on those. So it's a big tech community done in Bellevue. So I've been spending.
Is my neighbor one of those guys? Do you know?
I need to look him up and what his call sign is, because I guarantee it
Okay.
is, and I can guarantee he's probably one of them.
He's got a big antenna.
Big antenna. He's got a few on there, so he's got a bunch of each one of those wires come off as its own antenna. So this is called an HT. They call it a handy talkie. And so this is a UHF VHF radio, and so this is a mobile version. Not well. There's mobile means something different. This is like a portable version of a way I can talk to repeaters. And so the first thing that got me back into this was this new antenna. This thing is long. If you guys can see how long this antenna is. So this is called a signal stick, signal stick, and it's super elastic. You can literally like put this thing into a bow if you want to, but it pops right back into shape. So this antenna supports a website called hamstudy.org. And if you guys are ever interested in getting any of your tech license, your general license, your extra for ham radio, hamstudy.org is like the site. That's what I use to study for my ham tests, and they're amazing, free. So these antennas are made by the guys and it supports them. So the money goes to support the website. So I bought a few of these antennas and they're super cool. But then, of course, Jim, when you buy a new antenna, you need to buy a new radio. So this is a new radio that I got. This is a Radioddity GS5B. It's kind of rugged, a little more waterproof than my other ones. And so, just something fun to play around with. So I've been having this on my belt while I've been outside messing with antennas. Well, the other night, so the boys were inside and Hannah was trying to get some work done. The boys were just being my 3-year-old, my 4-year-old, I meant Harrison. They were being kind of obnoxious and Hannah was trying to get work done. I said, boys, come outside. We're putting up a new antenna. They're like, what? Like, what are we doing? I'm like, we're putting up a new antenna. I'm like, okay, like they were totally down for this. So we go outside, and the fun part about this is what I was putting up was I was readjusting one of my wire antennas. So my wire antenna, so I no longer have that 30-foot, and I think I've showed on a past show, the 30-foot pole on the top of my house. That blew off in the storm. So I've been trying to think of antennas where it doesn't require that. No eyesore. I want these to be HOA proof. No one's going to complain. No one's even going to see this antenna. No one is going to know it's there. So my antennas now are a little box that mounts under an eave of my house, and it's just one single black long wire that runs in my backyard and goes over a tree. Well, to get it into the tree, you have this throw rope, and then there's tree lines, right? And these are pretty popular. It's the special rope that doesn't snag on trees, and it's got a little like torpedo style, little 5-ounce to 10-ounce weight on the end. And you will wind it up like this. You throw it, and then you launch it right up into the tree. It goes up and over. You tie your antenna to one end, and then you just pull it through, right? And your antenna goes up over the branch, and now you've got your antenna into a tree. So that's what they helped me with. And they just had a ball. I mean, I've never seen them laugh harder. First of all, because they tried to throw the weight, and they couldn't even get it up to the first branch. So I would throw it up, and then I shimmied myself up into this tree. And first of all, they were just really impressed with their dad that he could climb a tree that fast. And then I had one of them on one end with one end of the rope and one with the other. And I would tell them, okay, Emmett, your turn. You need to pull because I need more on this side. Now, Harrison, now you go. And they just, nice. Of course, they didn't listen. It was constantly just, they were playing tug of war with each other and giving me up in the tree rope burns because that rope's going through my hands. But they had a blast with it, and they had so much fun. And they've been super just into my radios lately. Like every time I'm down here. So I actually moved my ham radios. They used to be right here at this desk. When I redid, and I don't need to go into this story because I already told it. Remember, I redid all my feed line. We talked about how much power loss you get when you run really long, bad coax. So I replaced all my coax with good coax, shorter runs, which means I moved my entire rig to the opposite side of the basement where it feeds in from the outside. And so I sit over there, and I'm on my long distance, and I do all that stuff, and they want to come sit on my lap. And then they've just had a fascination with this HT. And they just think it's crazy that I can talk to people because we'll be setting up the antenna, and I'll get some action on the repeater, and I'll talk to the guys, and I'll ask them a question. I'm like, hey, like when you guys are doing this antenna, do you do it in a sloper, inverted V? And they'll give me their feedback. So I've been super into it. And so as a reward for them helping me with my antenna the other night, I was like, you know what? These kids need to get into ham radio, and they're into it. It's a good time. So what I did was I got them their own radio. But what I tended to do, and this is kind of some advice for some of you out there, if you're looking to get in ham radio, or if you're a ham radio person for your kids, we got to remember that there are these other radios out here that are radios that will get them into ham eventually, but they're not technically ham radios. And they're just those cheap FRS radios, right? So FRS means family radio service. This is those blister pack radios you would get from Walmart back in the day. You know, you can, there's no license required to run these. Anyone can do them. There's really no rules around who can use them. There are rules on broadcasting on the frequencies, and the power and everything like that. But these radios can be used by kids. I can say whatever I want, no call sign. And so I got them some of these radios, and they come in a 4-pack. And if you're interested, these are from Radioddity, same brand as my ham radio. And let me look up real quick what that model number was. So these come in a 4-pack on Amazon.
We'd always use those on trips between cars.
Exactly. So, and they're perfect for that.
Youth group and, you know, that kind of distance. You get a little bit of distance, not very far. Somebody gets way ahead, or you get in the mountains. It can get a little sketchy, but that was for convoy conversations.
Yeah, you're talking probably a quarter mile, right? Yeah. You're quarter mile, maybe a little bit longer if there's nothing in the way. Right. But in the neighborhood, even they work pretty well. So these are the Radioddity FST3s, $50 for a 4-pack, right? Super cheap radios. But I gave these to them, and the instant they were just like super pumped because they were like, Dad. And, you know, so in ham radio, if you're doing long distance contacts, you don't do it on the short ones. But to get someone's attention, to say, hey, I'm looking for people to talk to, come back on this frequency, you say CQ, CQ, CQ. This is Whiskey Zero Echo Golf Romeo, CQ, CQ, CQ. And you just keep saying that. First thing my oldest one does, if you want any proof your kids listen to you, I've never taught him this. He gets on, he goes CQ, 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 and that's what he thinks you do. And it was the cutest thing ever. But they ran around all night playing with these. And, you know, this next part, FCC come after me, whatever you want to do. You can program these my ham radios to talk on the same frequency. Is it technically totally illegal? No, because these have more higher power. They have a removable antenna. All things. This isn't part certified, is what they call to operate on FRS. But you know what? No one really cares. So I program my radio to be on the same frequency. And the fact that they could talk to dad on dad's actual radio was just mind blowing to them. And then to make matters even better, I program my base ham radio, which runs to the antenna on the top of my house. So I have a lot of power, a lot of range. I program that. And they went to Good Sense and to the park to have a thing, and they could talk to me the entire time from these little radios. That's and so just a super cool father-son bonding. This is one of those, the few times they're starting to get old enough now where we're starting to be able to have a lot more fun, same hobbies, same interests. And who knows where it'll go. We were joking. I posted it in one of the Facebook groups I'm a part of for ham radio. And they were all like, man, that's amazing. As soon as they get old enough, though, for a cell phone, you're going to lose them. And I was like, yeah, I mean, probably. But, if I can get them into it and just still, like, I have a cell phone. And I love my cell phone. But
they make some friends. Like,
yeah, you make some friends. And it's just it's a thing, right? It's just like a computer, right? Yeah. Just because you have a cell phone that does what your computer does, you still play around with it. So, yeah, just a lot of cool ham radio projects. And my sons were just, super excited about everything. For the people in the on the video feed, I'll just show real quick. So this was, give me 1 second here, share the screen. This was a picture I took. So this was them on the first night. We gave it to them, and they were just pumped. That was like, as soon as I gave it to them, I was like, all right, let's take a quick picture to remember the first day you guys got into ham radio. And so they were pretty excited. And it's crazy how fast they pick it up. My 4-year-old, because I told him how to use it to keep your mouth far away, look for the red light when you're transmitting. If it's not red, I can't hear you because you're not holding the button hard enough. He gets it. 3-year-old, he's still screaming with it right up against his mouth, never pressing the button hard enough. He's still struggling a little bit, but he's picking it up just pretty fast. My 4-year-old is, oh yeah, they're having a blast with it. So soon enough, I think the fact that they liked helping me with my antenna, I think the next time I go out and I do parks on the air and do a mobile thing, they're gonna really like coming out and playing with me. And the way the rules are, as long as I'm there with them, they can actually get on my radios and use my call sign. So as soon as my oldest he gets a little mic fright because I've had him get on the radio and he kind of locks up and doesn't want to talk. But he knows the cadence. He knows CQ, obviously. He knows my call sign. I think he's only probably a year away from joining me on the air and having me sit next to him and having him run. And it's crazy to me, Jim, how fast their brain picks up things. So when I was telling him W0EGR, or when I say it as Whiskey 0 Echo Golf Romeo, I say, well, what's the whiskey? He goes, W. What's a 0? He goes, 0. Yeah. Echo. And I have to write out Echo for him because he doesn't know how that's spelled. But I'm like, why would it be that? He goes, because it's an E, because it's an R. Like they're so young that they just pick that stuff up so fast. You explain it to him once and they kind of get it. He doesn't know how to spell Echo, but he knows that if I spell ECHO, why would that say E? Well, because the first letter is E. He's like, so he gets the general stuff. So I think it's gonna be really cool to watch them kind of grow up with it and have a little fun.
For sure. These are memories, Mike. They're gonna remember. I've been surprised is I've spent all this time with Sammy. She's home from school. She went back last year, but she's home now. We're spending a lot of time together. She talks about these things she remembers when she was young. And it's mostly her and Tim getting into trouble that I didn't really even know. Like, we had no idea they were getting into the trouble there. And it wasn't really trouble, but it was just, we didn't know what they were doing. And, but those are the memories. I mean, she's got tons of memories of things we did together at that age. And I think it's important, you gotta slow down. The next thing you do is need to, teach them how to turn on the smoker and get that rolling for you. So You're like, okay, hit, 225, make sure the hopper's full, that kind of stuff. Right.
Oh yeah. Well, and I think it's funny too, the things that you don't even realize are going to be memories for them. Like for my dad, right? I always equate my first computer story to my dad brought home an extra laptop from work and we plugged them into a hub, which back in the day, like this was having network computers was a thing. Like it was new and crazy to me.
Was it the round ones when you say
no,
hub?
These were Ethernet.
Okay.
These were Ethernet. And we played this BattleBots game. Do you remember BattleBots, the TV show where
Oh,
people
yeah.
would build those robots?
Yeah.
There was a computer game version, and him and I on two separate computers played each other. And I just thought that was like, that blew my mind back when I was a kid. And so I was telling my dad this, I'm like, that's what I equate to. He's like, I totally forgot we even did that. And he's like, that's what you, I was like, oh, I said, I have vivid memories. I can tell you what room in the house we were in. I can tell you what the computer looked like. He's like, wow. And so I think I'm going to probably look back when they're telling me stories and I'm older and be like, what did we do again? Like, oh yeah, like that's what you remember. That was a big pivotal moment for you.
It's those are the memories. We had an old BNC network that we created at the old house before we moved here. So this would have been 96, 97 maybe. And I had a home network. I think we had cable modem at that point, but it was still pretty slow. And we played Command and Conquer. And the kids would get super mad because I'd beat them all the time. and then they started beating me and I just stopped playing. So like it was, I didn't want to lose anymore. But those, one of their big memories is when we got our first DVD player in 2000 and we got the Matrix with it. And dude, now there's a scene in there where Neo gives the police officers the bird,
Yeah.
And that happened at school with my middle one, not just a couple of weeks later. It's like, son, you can't. He was like second grade, maybe first. It's like, yeah, you can't do that. You can't, you can't flip off your teachers like that. That's not going to work.
So for better or for worse, they're going to remember things. I'll keep it in mind on both sides. Sometimes it's good.
Yeah. Well,
it's funny you mentioned BNC connector. You said that I equate BNC to a ham radio connector. So we still use BNC on certain coax connections for ham radio.
It's good.
I've never used it for a computer.
Yeah, it's a really good connection.
It's so easy and it locks.
Yeah, I was working for the bank at the time, and they were getting rid of some old equipment, and so I had no money, and so I brought home anything I could get my hands on, and got those set up. That would have been Windows 95, maybe Windows 98.
Yeah,
it could have been Windows 98. I would think. No,
I think 95 was probably my first operating 95. System I ever really remember using.
Yeah.
My dad brought home a lot. I mean, he was into computers for a long time, but 95 was probably the one I actually probably got on and used.
Yeah, Jim Shoemaker in the chat room says he remembers using BNC for coax Ethernet. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of and then it kind of quickly changed over to
RJ45.
RJ45, yeah, pretty fast. And then, we've had Cat 5, Cat 5e, Cat 6, and
Cat 6a. Yeah,
we've moved our way up. Yeah, all those things we've talked about here in the last 500 shows of Home Gadget Geeks as we spent a bunch of time doing that. So, well, Mike, pretty cool, and it was fun. Like when I saw that picture, all the ham stuff made sense. It was just like, oh, that's cool, and it's really cool when your kids get into those things that you're into. I don't know. Besides skiing, I'm not sure my kids we ever really had with the boys. I really ever had that thing, with them. It was always so separate. Different time in my life. Just a little bit of a different person. But then we started skiing, and that worked for. And then we had 2 broken legs skiing, and we're like, maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we should slow down on this thing, a little bit. But good to see you doing that early. And of course, those are memories they'll kind of have forever. So,
I will too. It was a fun day.
Are you hearing my notifications from Facebook? Okay, good.
I am not. Nope.
Sometimes this laptop doesn't get silenced. All right, Mike, it's time to talk about fatness because I was at work the other day, and they got a brand new scale, and I was like, oh, cool. Like, I haven't weighed myself in a year and a half. I wonder where I'm at, dude. It was alarming how much weight I've put on since the pandemic, and I'm probably 30 over where I was pre-pandemic, and I'm probably 50 off of where I want to be really healthy, kind of deal. And I'll just be honest, I haven't that 20 to give, if I have 50 to give, that first 30 is pretty easy. That second 20 has always been elusive, just always.
Right.
But it's okay. It's a goal. It's out there.
Yeah.
So as I've been slowly gaining weight throughout the pandemic, you could see it, pants fitting a little tighter, shirts not quite fitting just right, those kinds of things, right? And I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure most of you listening to this haven't had that problem at all. But I
We
certainly
all
did.
we all we've
And
all been there. Yeah.
caught myself in front of a mirror the other day and I was like, okay, this this is stopping. Like I gotta get I haven't looked this big in a while. So typically my routine has been to go right to working out. But I'm not the young spry. I'm not you. I can't just go play hockey whenever I feel like it, or go on a 5K or a 10K and then with no training. I can't at 53. The body really isn't designed to do that anymore. And I was like, maybe it's time to get my diet in line, right? Maybe finally, because I would always work out like a madman so I could eat like
Yeah.
right.
100%. Yeah. That's me
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. So I always really struggled with that. So I thought, you know what? I'm gonna try. There's this thing called intermittent fasting. Have you heard of that before? You ever
Heard of it.
have
Yeah.
you, you
Never
ever
done
you
it.
ever never have tried it?
I,
So
I
my
do it. I do it by default, kind of actually. Like I've been pretty bad. I have about 1.5 meals a day now, which probably isn't as healthy, but I have a
yeah,
pretty big lunch and I have a moderate sized dinner. But it kind of fits with my new style, right? And that's kind
yeah.
of it's just fits. And I have a protein shake in the morning, so maybe that's another half a meal, right? So I don't know. I feel like maybe sometimes I actually do it by accident, but no, I've never done it regimented like you should.
Well, here's my thought, and I think Jim Shoemaker says it well. 6 words for transformation: eat better, eat less, exercise more. And I kind of approached it from exercise like crazy, eat whatever you want. Those are my 6 words.
Yeah.
Eat whatever you want. Yeah, those are exercise like crazy, eat whatever you want. That was actually for some of us who are older. Jim Fix was a runner in the 70s, and that was kind of his philosophy. As long as you're running and exercising, you can eat whatever you want. And then at 49, Jim Fix died of a heart attack. So you're like,
Yeah.
okay, that's probably not the right way to go about it. And
Yep.
and so I think for the first time ever, Mike, I'm making this switch to be like, you know what, before I start getting crazy with my workouts, which are getting harder at my age and are particularly hard at my weight. Like, I can't just go out. If I went out there and just started running, I mean, think about I'm 50 pounds overweight on my knees that are already kind of worn out, right? My
Right.
hips that have 5 marathons on them,
Oh
right?
yeah.
That kind of
Yeah.
thing. So it just kind of became for me, it just kind of became that moment of like, all right, I gotta get my diet in order. But I do want to spend some time figuring some of the eating out. Intermittent fasting is not something you necessarily create a lifestyle around. It's an opportunity. You can do it often. There's all kinds of different ways to do it, and lots of people have different methodologies. My job tonight is not to tell you how to do it. I'm not the expert on this. I'm going to tell you what I'm doing. But I want to share an app with you, and there's a whole bunch of them that are out there. But this was one of those things that kind of helped me, Mike, because in this world of intermittent fasting, there's these different kind of recipes for it. And the one I'm choosing is 8 hours of eating, 16 hours of fasting. And you would think, okay, that's not too bad, right? Basically, for me, it means just skipping breakfast for now.
Okay.
And there's some physiological things that happen or are supposed to happen after you've been fasting for like 12 hours. In those 6 hours that you're not eating after 12, your body actually starts to do some regeneration. It starts it starts using fat instead of food, which is
Mhm.
which is kind of cool. And there's actually some evidence that it does some cell repair, which if you're eating all the time, it doesn't do. Like it doesn't do as good of a job of repairing your cells in your
Okay.
body. Okay. Again, not a health show. I'm not a doctor. I'm not here to convince you to do this. Again, I just want to show you this cool app that I found. So I found this app, and like I said, there's a bunch of them, and I'm probably going to try a bunch. But this one's called Fastic, 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 and really, just a simple. It's kind of a simple application that allows me to track it every day. I don't, in some regards, I don't need this. I stop eating at 8 p.m. I don't eat again till noon the next day. Repeat. But having an app to kind of track it is one of those nice things. It'll tell me, like in this case, I took a screenshot a little bit earlier. I got about 2 hours remaining on my fast. This was from this morning, so I think I must have taken this about 8:32 this morning. It says on the it says on there. So I started that and I started at 8 o'clock last night. It's going through. I'm into this, and then I've got about 3 hours left on this fast. And when it's done, it sends me a little alert notification. Hey, go eat and eat healthy. It's kind of the right. Go eat.
So then so walk me through a typical day of how that works. Because so for the hours you can eat, is there any guidelines of like when you eat throughout there, how much you can eat? You can eat as much as you want through those 8 hours.
Yeah, well, in this case, this is not the app that tracks your eating during that time. Those 8 hours.
This is just saying, hey, you stopped 16 hours ago,
yeah.
right? And
their recommendation is eat healthy, eat whole, right? Eat as close to the ground as you can. Eat like right, but they're also realistic. They're kind of like their goal is to get you to get some steps, get you to drink some water, get you to try and eat. If you're trying to lose weight and it doesn't make any sense to, say you have a 10,000 calorie day, 2, 4, 6. Let's say 10,000 is a lot. So let's say you have a 6,000 calorie day and you start fasting and you just jam in 8,000 calories in those 8 hours. Okay. That doesn't make much sense. Right. So at the same time, what I have found, Mike, so I wake up and I drink a glass of water right away. And then I start making my coffee and shower, change, get ready for work. Then I try to keep myself just really busy. So in the morning, this last weekend on some of the projects that we'll talk about here in a little bit, I spent I went out, I went to Menards and picked up some stuff, and I just tried to keep my mind off of thinking I hadn't had breakfast. And because that's actually according to the science behind this, that's actually the key time. From the time you wake up till lunchtime is when the body's burning fat. It's when it's repairing cells. It's actually getting healthier from the fast. I'm fasting every day because I'm actually going to try and tackle this weight thing here in the next couple months. So I'm going to do it every day. If I cheat on a day, I cheat. What the heck, right?
Right.
But I'm going to try and get after it. Depending upon what I learn through this, I might make this kind of a regular thing. And I may try to I'm going to try at some point, I'm going to try a 24, which is 4 hours of eating and 20 hours of fasting.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm going to try it just because here's the deal. I'd forgotten what it was like to be hungry. Let's just be really clear. I was like, yeah, I don't know what it means to be hungry.
That makes sense. Okay.
I was going to meals full and I was eating again. And I'm like, what am I doing to myself here? This can't be good, right? This can't be good. So we'll throw this back in here. So this tells me how much time I have left. Again, I don't need to know because since I'm doing it every day. I follow the same pattern every day. Tonight's going to be a little bit different because I'm drinking beer. So I'm not going to get done. My fast won't technically start until I'm done with the beer, which is 9, which means I can't eat till 1 tomorrow. So tomorrow's gonna be a long day. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna have to really kind of focus and concentrate. The thing is, you don't die. Nobody has died from missing breakfast. Or no. Okay, consult your. I'm not a doctor.
Yeah.
Consult.
As far as we know, no one has.
Right. No. Right on. So you get here's my week. So I just kind of proved I've kind of made it through this. So this is the week, and every day you hit it, you get a green bar. So this again, I was in morning. So what's that? 7 days. I've done 7 days in a row. I guess I started this last week at this time. So gives you some stats on that. This is kind of the alert when you wake up in the morning. It says you're going to end your current fast time at 11:30 because I'd started at 7:30 the day before. And then it tracks the water and steps. Really, really simple. So far, the app's free. By the way, you can track your weight in it as well if you want to. There are some paid options if you want to get the plus and get advice and stuff like that. I'd leave that up to you to consider. There's another one called Zero that I haven't tried yet. And so am I recommending the app? I don't know. It's working for me right now. I just kind of wanted to share with you guys. I mean, if you're kind of coming out of this, last year and, it's just like, well, maybe, and I'm down 6 in a week. Now, am I going to get 6 every week? Okay. No, I'm not. It's just the first 10 are pretty easy. then it slows down a little bit. Your metabolism starts figuring out, hey, what are you doing? The other thing, I've done on top of it is really start to use my Peloton app with the Treadly. So, I pay $13 a month.
Well, I remember you were saying like, I want to get back on this Treadly because I paid all this money for it and it was going to be all good. So you're back to using it. So remember you said that utilizing it right after you bought it was.
Yeah, we had not really been using it. I mean, it was sitting there. We tried it out a couple times. It just gave me a message. It just flashed a message it's like, oil me. So I need to this
it's
weekend.
A good sign. It means you've been using it enough that it needs oil now.
Yes. Right? Yeah. We've been using it enough to get it lubed. But so I've been trying to get at least one Peloton workout in, which is kind of nice because you get on and they just yell at you. Not really. They're actually really nice, but they're pretty motivating.
They are, because so I've been utilizing obviously the new work gym. We talked about this at work, and so we have Peloton bikes there. So actually tomorrow morning, so me and a buddy we get up, we do a 4:30 a.m. bike ride on it for 45 minutes, and that was the first time I've been introduced to Peloton, and it destroyed me, Jim.
Yeah.
Like that, I'm not a biker, number one. I'm not great at long distance cardio in general, but they are motivating. Like I liked it. And the fact there's the live leaderboard and it's fun. It's been, so our Friday routine now is that bike ride in the morning. And then we do like a thing called 50s is what he does. And and the problem is I became friends with the most fit guy at Carson.
Oh, yeah.
But that's also a good thing because it's like on the bike, like he is literally triple my score. I'm like, I am sweating bullets over here. I am dead at the end, and he tripled it. So I'm like, that means I thought I did really good, but there's still more work I could do. Right. So it's fun. But those that Peloton's no joke.
Well, and what I did is I got a lightning. Now this isn't the connector, but I got a lightning to HDMI, and then on the front of the Treadly is my touchscreen, 24-inch touchscreen. That's got HDMI. So I just plug the phone in and plug this into the HDMI, and it just mirrors on it.
Super smart.
And then it's right there. I get heart rate off my fit, off my watch, off the Apple Watch. I get distance on both the treadmill and on that. It tracks my Peloton as well as my steps. Like they're actually all working together, which is kind of crazy. Like
that's really cool.
Step counter on the Fastic app is working together with the calorie burn that I'm getting on the watch. That's working together with the workouts that I'm doing on Peloton, which is working together with the fasting and the eating that I'm doing. So it's kind of, interesting. Jim Shoemaker says, I remember some years ago at work, the 6 p.m. diet, and this is kind of similar, made its rounds. You couldn't eat anything after 6 p.m. Kind of like this fasting thing, I guess. Hard to stick to, though. And anything like this is hard to stick to. I have found the 8 p.m. rule to be easier to stick to than anything. 8 p.m., just cut it off, guys. Just cut it off. Stop eating. Because listen, I was crushing like a ice cream sandwich and then maybe a protein bar and maybe some crackers and 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. And then I was getting up early and eating breakfast. That stopped those calories, right? It stopped the late evening calories. It stopped the morning kind of calories. I was eating breakfast and eating some toast and having a latte, and all those things are fine. But I need to get some reversal going in here. So again, I wanted to throw that out to say, by the way, I can do both the Peloton workouts, which is kind of cool. So to have a goal to do one Peloton workout a day, at least I'm getting something to start with, right? Can't go to bed until I've got at least one workout in. And you really just set it and forget it. You set it, you can do it. I don't have any Peloton equipment. This is on the Treadly. So you don't have to buy their gear to get it done. The app's like $13 a month. You can get warm-ups, you can get cool downs, you get a bike, treadmill, outside running, yoga, meditation. Like it's kind of, if you're looking for something to get you going, you can do the Peloton app. It's actually cheaper than buying the bike, because I think the app's like $60 with the bike. Something like, so if you have the bike,
really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
If you have the bike, I think you're paying her 50, 60. If you don't have the bike, you're paying like 13. So it's you do some of the, you don't have a leaderboard, there's some functionality that doesn't work across that. I had done Peloton. Listen, I was probably in the best shape of my life in March of 2020. I just came off of climbing a vertical mile here in Omaha, and I was doing regular 60-minute rides with Dennis on Peloton. And Dennis is a madman. And I was coming off just drenched, right? So Peloton's nothing new, but they made it. They made it through the
Oh, for
pandemic,
sure.
and
Yeah.
it may be a great opportunity too. Mike, you've been, I mean, we've alluded to this, but you got involved in some hockey, right? To kind of get some
Yeah.
movement going in there, and I'm sure that's burning some calories.
Well, and so that was my only. I was the same way as you, Jim. I put on a lot of weight during COVID. But hockey was my only saving grace because I started playing hockey last year. But it's only once a week, right? And so it's really only for an hour that you're really working hard. So hockey saved me from getting too big. And then right as soon as we moved into the new office, and the new office gym with the trainer was there in May. And so end of May, start of June was when I really got back into I would say I've been traveling a lot for work. So whenever I travel, I don't. But every other morning, I'm there at 5 a.m. for those workouts, and that was a savior. And Jim, you kind of forget too as you start to get into fitness, like you're a different person. Like I am, at least. Like I am a completely different person because number one, my drinking goes down because I can't drink at night if I'm going to get up at 4:30 and make it to the gym by 5. Like that's just and survive that workout. There's no way. And then your mental state is, well, I don't want to eat a lot during the day because I just worked my ass off at 5 a.m. and I'm not going to put that to nothing, right? So then I eat just as much, but I eat a lot healthier. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll skip the fries this time. I'll go with, some carrots or, little things like that. It's amazing to me how fast that can switch your brain as soon as you commit to it. For me though, Jim, what I found out was I cannot be a work at home guy, workout at home. Some people can do it. I do not have the capacity to stick to something that good without peer pressure. So I have my group of people, and it's a small group at 5 a.m. Not many of us show up at 5, but we're there. And when I'm not there, they text me, they call me, they see me in the office, and they give me shit. And that's what getting you right. Like that's what keeps me going is the peer pressure. So that's what I needed. But yeah, the hockey thing has been fun. I really enjoy the hockey side of things.
Well, I used to think too I couldn't work out at home. I'm on record as saying I will never work out at home. And then I got this Treadly and I did it with the Peloton, and I was like, I have a fan. I installed a fan in the front of it, so I'm I reconfigured what came with the. I have to do a show on this setup that I've got going on. Maybe in a couple weeks we'll do a show on the setup. But I kind of geeked out on it. It's got a PC up there. It's got a Chromecast.
That's really cool.
So I can play YouTube while I'm walking, some of those kinds of things. So some of the thought is in the evening, I'll get a walk in before bed, a very light walk, just kind of get in there, watch some YouTube videos, walk on the treadmill, just get out of this chair for a few minutes. Ryan over at Think Computers just jumped in. He said, hey, finished our pod. They've been recording on Thursday nights. Jeez, Ryan, thanks. Had to come over and say hi, 500 episodes. He says, hell yeah. And I appreciate that. Bob and Ryan are coming on, I think, the first Thursday in September. So we get them back coming up. Joe says, I ate a lot of peppers with my lean cuisine, 0 calories, and you eat slower. And that's true. And then and we shouldn't forget about this too. Brian says, I've been enjoying the Apple Fitness Plus workouts, right? That's a little bit like the Peloton space in a lot of ways. It is,
and it's really cool. If you have an iPad or an Apple TV, so you can put the iPad up or the Apple TV up. And then if you have a watch, your stats from your watch are live streaming to your iPad or your Apple TV and showing up while you're doing it. So imagine just kind of how Peloton shows you, same thing if you're hooked up to one of those monitors, which I think is one of the coolest parts about Apple.
Yeah,
Fitness.
So you can see your heart rate. I think that's key, is being able to see your heart rate during when I was doing it before, I was just on the bike. And I didn't know, and I'd check my watch just to see where I was from a heart rate perspective. It's nice just to see it on the screen. So
yeah, very much so.
Super cool. Well, one of those things, I mentioned while I was trying to avoid on Saturday being hungry, like I just wanted to sit down here because I knew I would give in. I was like, okay, the week before we had considered, you've been to my house over to the right. You come out onto the deck and over to the right is the fire pit. And it was never in a good spot. The smoke would blow into the house, and she just hates that campfire smoke.
Yeah.
It would also go right into my neighbor's windows from time to time if the wind was blowing right. If there was a nice day and they had their windows open, it'd literally go right for their windows, and I'd hear them slam the windows when we were having a fire. So, so 2 weeks ago, I said, "Hey, do you mind if I move the fire pit?" And Sarah said, "No, that'd be fine. It'd be greater away from the house." So, came off the back of the deck and dug a hole. I bought one of those steel 3-foot diameter, you'd buy to put on a farm and fill with water for the cows, right? One of those they're fire rings, right? They're kind of known for that. And drop. I think I got a closer in picture. Yeah, there we go. So spent the weekend before digging it out. I took the grass and put that in a spot where I needed grass, and then put concrete down, leveled it out. So it was all, put the ring on top, put a layer of bricks down, then just watered it. That concrete hardened up really nice, locked everything in. And then so last weekend I went and picked out some of those caps that are on the top. I didn't have any of those, so I picked those up and put them in. Okay, a fire pit on its own, Mike, is not special, but the goal, like, all I've seen is these smokeless solo stoves.
Yep.
Fire pits, whatever. And I was like, what's the magic on that? So I've been watching some YouTube videos, and the magic is actually not very much magic in it. All it is air comes in from the bottom, goes up the sides, gets superheated. So you get a hot fire going, and it superheats the air as it's rising up the sides. Then there's holes around the top, and that air is reintroduced into the pit, and it creates a secondary burn for the smoke that's coming out. You ever taken a candle, put the candle out, and it smokes?
Yeah.
Then you take a flame and you put it in the smoke, and that flame will go down the smoke, because you can still burn smoke. Like, it'll burn. It's still combustible.
Okay.
Right?
I had no idea how these work. So this is cool.
So oftentimes with fire, the smoke that you're seeing is just stuff that hasn't been combusted fully it, because it's not efficient, or it didn't get enough air. Most fire pits don't lack air on the bottom, right? To bring it in, or it's just not directed in that way. In other words, it's burning inefficiently. The whole solo idea is that you get this in a confined area, you get that superheated air coming up the sides, and then it dumps in. Well, on this picture, what you'll see, and sorry for those of you listening on the audio, what I did is on the downhill side facing, that's the left side as this picture is. On the downhill side facing, I left the bricks open so air could come in, could be drawn in from the bottom. And then on the right side of it, on the right side, the way the bricks come up, there's a gap of about 3/4 to an inch all the way around, that lets that air that gets pulled in from the bottom to heat up and then come out through the top. And burn again, create that kind of secondary burn. And I was actually kind of skeptical it would kind of work, because I built it. I
would be doing the exact same thing. I'd be like, okay,
right.
We'll see. We might just have a normal fire pit here.
Yeah, and you know what? If it was normal, it was fine. Normal would be burning and smoke, right?
Right.
The solo concept would be burning, and you're not completely smokeless, right? You're always going to have a little bit of smoke, but a lot less. So Sunday night, we went out and filled that thing up and just started burning it. And sure enough, the magic of no smoke
is there.
I couldn't believe it. Yeah, it worked. Like it.
Wow.
It worked. So you see this roaring fire in the coming, coming up in this, and generally just a plumes of smoke, coming out of the top, and all you see is the heat. It was working. It was burning twice. I was burning.
That's amazing.
It was also igniting the smoke. The oxygen was coming in and allowing that to burn, have a secondary burn to it. So, kind of interesting. Joe says, confused. Joe, just go watch. Like, there's 1,000 YouTube videos on these solo stoves, and they break down how they work. If I've confused you on it, basically you're drawing air in from the bottom, superheating it against the side rails. You're creating a space. So for me, the space is in between the metal and the brick, right? And I could do some things to seal that brick up to get better airtight, all that kind of stuff. It works fine, just as it is. I still need to glue. So as this fire pit stands, I still need to glue it together. I just stacked the bricks, and I was like, well, I want to try this out before I commit to this. I kind of want to give it a try. And I wish I'd gotten a little bit of closer of a picture than this, but the metal rung comes up here. Let me go here. The metal rung comes up, and then that cap sits right over the top of it with about an inch clearance.
So that's where that air is coming up back through.
Air is coming up. So I don't have to drill holes on the solo stoves. On the solo stoves, they have holes up around the top that do that.
Right.
But because of the way this came together, I was ready to drill those. And then as I was putting it together, I was like, oh, wait a minute. I'm going to get a gap.
Which is cool because no kidding. It like naturally worked out that it just made itself that way. That's cool.
Yeah, no, it.
I mean, you totally planned it out that way when you put it in the CAD program on your computer and sketched it all out.
Heck yeah.
That looks really good.
So Jim. there's the fire pit. If you're again on the video, coming off the deck and moved at the same time. That rail that is on my deck to the right. So you see a handrail that had been straight across because we wanted to turn people right to go to the old fire pit. Now you go straight out. Okay. You go straight out to the fire pit. We're going to put right off the deck. I'm going to get some big pavers and we're going to make paver step downs. And then I'll do pavers out to the fire pit and put probably a 6-foot square around that. So you can sit close to it. You can walk out to it. I don't need that much lawn. I mean, as much as we talked about the lawn last year, by the way, the lawn looks as good.
It does look really good.
Yeah, I've done no water. I haven't done no fertilizer, no weed stuff this year. I've just let it be. And it's actually looks a lot better than it ever did last year. So maybe there's something to that. Mike, one thing I found as I was doing this, so as I was moving the handrail, I was, putting levels on top of the thing to make sure, I was putting things back in level and I couldn't get anything level. I'm like, what's going on here? Everything had a quarter bubble drop, or in this case, a full bubble drop and I was like, what's going on? So I take the level and I put it on the deck itself and then the deck is definitely sloping. And I'm like, what the heck? It's just a couple years ago I put this thing in and it was level when I put it in. So I think here's the culprit. So that footer that you see in the picture has the weight of the corner. Plus I've had a bunch of plants on it. I think I sunk that footing. I'm not sure I compressed the ground enough underneath. And when I put all that weight on it, I think I compressed it. Now, if you're looking at the picture and you're a structural engineer, you'll also see that I follow the construction methods of the people that built it. And that deck is not bolted to that. It's just it's kind of on a little stand that separates the wood from the concrete, right? Wood and concrete are not good together, right? One will rot the other. And so it really is just a piece of metal. It's a little piece of metal, maybe a half an inch thick it should be attached. So that was how the previous guys did it. That's how I did it. So I think what I'm going to need to do, and this is where I'll take a little bit of advice. So, although I asked for advice a couple weeks ago, nobody gave me any. So you guys must not like me. I think I'm going to take a bottle jack and put it underneath, bottle jack's just what you'd use, it's just a round cylinder jack. Put it down right next to the footing, put some wood underneath it to support it so it doesn't sink into the ground. And then I think I'm going to jack that thing up. And I think I'm kind of probably end up drilling in to that footing and buying a thicker support that will actually allow me to tie the deck to the footing, right? So that I can bolt it in. So I'll raise the deck up. I'll figure out what my distance is to get it level. And then I'll put that connector in. I'll epoxy the bolt down into the concrete. I think I have enough room in there. I might need to remove a few things to get in there to get that done. I do not want to dig a new footing. No,
you don't.
Look at that. Look at that mess. Like that is not really where I want to go and dig a new footing there. So, I got a little bit of work to do. I don't necessarily want to, I don't want to put the steps in until I get the deck level. So I kind of need to wait. For that piece to come together. So I got a little bit of work. The good news is fall is on its way and I got some cooler weather. I was sweating like a
Oh, I can imagine. I went out
Dude.
there for like 10 minutes to do that in 10, I think, with the boys, and I
Yeah.
was like drenched. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's just been super hot. But that was a good, like, that kept me busy. You know, I remember on Saturday then, you know, doing all that work, and I looked at my watch and I'm like, oh, I can eat. Like, this is great. Like, I can eat. And I went in, grabbed a sandwich, or I think I had, I don't know, I think we might have had something leftovers or something from the night before. But um, yeah, Joe says in the chat room, frost heave. Joe, it's actually really, really possible that's true. So, um, I think I put the footing below the frost line. I think I dug that 4 feet down. I can't remember. I'm not gonna dig it out to know it. The at this point, what I'm kind of hoping is it's completely settled.
I'm learning something completely new. I don't even know what frost heave is.
So there's water in the ground to a certain here in Nebraska, the ground freezes to a certain level that compresses things and pushes things up out of the ground. And so then when it thaws, you get this freeze thaw cycle. And then when things thaw, it comes back down, and so your landscaping during the winter is constantly moving. Like your sidewalks, your all that stuff moves around because of this freeze thaw cycle that happens.
Okay.
That frost heave it pushes stuff up out of the ground. And
interesting.
And it's very possible. It's very possible I'm getting that movement, although that deck is heavy. I think more likely I didn't compress I poured the concrete on a non-compressed hole. I think I was in a hurry. And I think I just left probably an inch that has now compressed. It's pushed itself in. So if you want to help me with it, send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv. And I just mean advice. Give me some advice. Jim Shoemaker's been really good. He's been talking me through, I should say nobody's, because Jim sent me an email talking me through a little bit of he's got a Forester. I've got the Legacy. We've been talking about that Apple CarPlay issue with it. So Jim, I appreciate your emails, sending those to me as well. And if you got some advice for me on that, like I said, I think I just need to get it up a full 2 inches. And I think with some fittings and epoxy and some other things, I can probably make it work and probably make it code. I'm just saying, I think what I have right now is not code. So, well, it was built without code. I'm just saying I followed the guy.
Well, you're moving soon, right? So
yeah, that's it. Mike, I want to wrap, speaking of moving, I want to wrap up tonight with just some, just some thoughts about 500. We got this far. I struggled all week with what we were going to do. I was going to pull some clips and some stuff. And I thought, nah, let's just do a regular show for everybody. So you guys got 50 minutes of kind of the regular show. Not a lot of, this term we've used this term a lot, congratulatory backslapping, because that's what we got accused of on Home Server Show. Not a lot of that going on tonight, but just a couple milestones that I want to walk through. And then I got this top 10 list of things that I've learned from 500 episodes. And by the way, apparently Mike Uyghur's been with me for 300 of those, which I didn't realize.
So
almost, I know, it's so crazy to think about it. But show 100 aired December 29th, 2012. And that was actually a big show. Bunch of folks. Andrew came back. I think Andrew, Christian, Nathaniel was on there. I think there's a whole bunch of folks on that. It was kind of fun. Show 200, January 25th, 2015. You'll see I can't get 50 shows. You should be able to do that in a year, easy. But you can see I don't. So there's some skipping definitely going on there. It's just steps out a little bit. Show 200 was actually Amber Gott from LastPass. That was the very beginning of the relationship for a long time, 3 years probably, I think.
Yeah, they supported the mobile app, right?
They did. Yeah, it wasn't long after that. I think I went out to DC and saw her, and then we struck a deal, and they paid for the mobile app, and so good memories. And I still use LastPass today, so that was them.
Yeah,
that was them. Show 300, March 11th, 2017. Christian came on. You see a lot of the anniversary shows. I always invite Christian back for those. He came for the 10-year anniversary show back in December that we had. And
10-year. We've had 10 years.
Yeah, we did 10 years back in December.
Wow.
Yeah. I think you missed it. No, were you here?
I was here.
Okay.
I forgot it was 10 years.
Good. It was 10. Crazy. Yeah, 10 years. And then show 400, May 5th. Many of you probably remember that one more. May 5th, 2019. I had Zadler and Christian came back to do that. That was a ton of fun. So just some dates. Okay, we actually have the date. We actually have the date for when Mike joined. I asked,
and we don't have to look it up this time mid-show like we've done for the past few years.
I'm gonna leave it in my permanent show notes. So I stopped saying, when did you join, Mike? So I announced on show 205 that Mike would be joining us, and then 206, that's March 12th, 2015. Mike, that's 6 years. 6 and some change.
I was still in law school. I forgot that I was in law school when I started.
Yeah. Because we made big jokes about you. Like, did
you ever study? And yep.
I think you were in law. When did you graduate from law school?
16.
Yeah. I think you did a whole year of law school with me.
I did. Right? Yeah. Well, yeah. So if I started halfway through my second year. Law school is 3 years. So I did a year and a half of law school while podcasting. Yeah. And I continued during the summer while studying for the bar exam because the bar's after. So yeah, kept it going. It kept me sane.
Yeah. John Nye, I think remember John Nye, the security guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. John, I think you helped me host that show with John Nye. We talked about VPN solutions and ways a little bit. So way back in the day, 2015, pretty amazing as I think about the progression. Again, I thought you were like 250, 260. That's where I started looking for you. And nope, there's Mike. And nope, there's Mike. And nope, there's Mike. And finally, I was okay. I got to get this figured out. And it was all the way back to 206. So, Mike, thanks for hanging around with me that long. I mean,
it's been a blast. I love it.
That's a long. I keep expecting you someday to be like, peace out. I've said everything I need to say. And
you're such an easy host. My life's just getting crazy. Like, for example, the next 2 weeks, like traveling next week for a wedding. The next week we have a work event. You're so easy on that stuff. So that's what makes it so nice. Like, cause it's like, well, my life is getting busy and there are weeks when I can't do it, but, you roll with it. So no, I mean, really for me, it's, I'm sure as the kids get older, it's naturally going to happen at some point, right? Cause they're just now getting into activities.
No, it doesn't have to happen.
No. Yeah. Well, we're just gonna say it's not going to happen, but like,
no, it doesn't have to happen. I mean, if you're going to make a choice to be a quitter, then okay.
Well, everything I just said about you being really easy to okay.
Well, I mean, listen, I told you in the pre-show, full transparency, Monday morning, I talked myself into this being the last show. Like, I was like, okay, I should just wrap it. It's a good time. I don't know. What am I doing? I was having this moment. I do this.
Everyone has those moments.
Yeah.
Oh, yep.
Yeah. And by the end of the day, I was like, hell no, I want to do this. I want to keep doing this. Right. So I kind of go through that. Phase from time to time. But so I came up with a top 10 list, and Mike, I kind of want you to interact with me on this. Yeah, this is kind of, and it's actually it's 11, but we'll call it a top 10 list. Top 10 things I've learned about myself in 500 episodes, because there's a lot. You go through you go through something like this, and Brian, I'm not sure I'll be able to do 500 more, but I'm sure going to try. Like I'm kind of with you there. We'll give it a shot. I didn't think we'd get to this far when we first started, to be honest. You never know. Like, I didn't know in December of 2012 or 2011.
2011.
Yeah, that we would make this thing.
No, 2010, right? Because if it was 10 years,
yeah, you're right.
2020.
You're right. Yeah, 2010. No, you're right about that. So, so number 10. I really love being a community manager. I mean, one of the things that I enjoy the most is just chatting with you guys online, putting groups together, getting interesting things out of people, that, like, Mike, when you talk about that, your ham radio stuff.
Yeah.
I can see, I see the spark of like what's working for you, and it's working for your kids, and I'm never going to do it, but that's not the point, right? The point is that we get a chance to do it, and it's a ton of fun. So I love the community, especially not having to be the expert. That is just one of my favorite things ever, is I don't have to be the expert on this.
Well, that's the cool community we've created too. The community aspect that I've kind of picked up on, and although I've been very bad at keeping up with Discord lately, but is just the interaction between everyone. I consider all of our viewers, that especially the ones that interact, friends, right? Like everyone in this community who pings me, You're right. And the way that you've run the show, not being the expert is kind of cool, right? Because I'm the same way. We can bring in guests, or when we talk about things, we throw it out to the community and they get back to us. Yeah, I love that setup. You're right.
Yeah.
And this is cool, Jim. You always talked about this from from when I first started, that you weren't looking to make this massive thing, right? You got a good group of people. When you get bigger, you start to get issues with the community. And we've just been so lucky that our community has been solid.
Yeah.
Good, a bunch of good people out there, guys and gals. They give us feedback, they interact, and you guys actually patrol yourself. Most podcasts have to get moderators for their Discords because people start getting out of hand and they start, getting into arguments on there. We don't have to worry about that, right? Like, you guys have a great time out there. You guys moderate yourselves.
Dave McCabe taught me that, by the way. That's not I didn't come up with that. I watched what he did with Home Server Show, and I just said, yeah, that's the way. That's, of course, that's the way you run things. So big thanks to Dave for kind of teaching me that, for seeing that and catching it from him. So Dave, I appreciate that. I do. I can't say I never would have made it to 500 without Dave. Like, he has been such an influence on me. He's such a good friend. He's just such a great guy. And I love that guy a lot for what he does and what he, just for his commitment. His kids, you're going to be in his spot about 5 years from now, right? His kids are all in, and they just started high school and maybe junior high, and it gets just ridiculously crazy.
Oh, yeah.
So he's there now. Okay. Number 9, I'm a good starter. I hold on to things way too long, and I'm okay with both. Like, I am, there's nobody better at starting things than me, especially when they're interesting. But once I'm done with them, like, I am terrible, but you're jettison once you're done. I hold on to them forever. I'm just terrible.
That is, we are very different in that regard. And, to some extent, Jim, I've sometimes felt bad because I'll get all excited about something. I'll come talk about it on the podcast. And just when our community starts to like ping me about it on Twitter and stuff, I'm like, I'm not really into that anymore.
Yeah, you've already moved on.
I've already moved on.
Yeah.
So thank you, community, for putting up with my ADD on all of that.
Number 8, and this is going to be this one. After I wrote it, I thought, man, this is I'm going to put this on a t-shirt. It says this: I don't always have a lot to say, but I can say a lot.
That is our motto.
Yeah. No, it's just one of those kinds of things. By the way, Sammy has the same. She is built like that. She can talk about anything, and she just extrapolates and makes stuff up. So
and that's your skill, Jim. Like, especially when you're interviewing, I've noticed when we have guests, you're so good at, like you just said, you don't have a lot to say on that topic, but you can extract, you can ask the right questions. That's what I've always enjoyed about the people we have on, is you ask really good questions. I'm like, oh yeah, it's gonna get some good information out of them.
That's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah.
An interview
is
interview by far most fun for me is when we have interviews. Number 7, I am not good at reviewing stuff, and I really don't want to. Like, it took me a long time to figure out I'm not a review guy. Like, Ryan and Bob, Aaron, God bless them. And I always wanted to be them. I'm not. I hate it. I hate reviews. I don't want to be that guy. I tried to do them early. As I was going back looking for your episode, I was kind of going through old stuff that I'd reviewed. And I'm like, God, that was terrible. Like, what was I thinking? So.
And I'm kind of the same way. So I feel you.
Yeah. We're just not a review show.
No.
And you know what? I'm okay with that. Like, I'm just not going to be a review guy. I don't want to take reviews. We're going to talk about stuff that we use. Like, we're gonna, like, we kind of do reviews, right? You reviewed some ham radio stuff. We wouldn't consider that, like, the internet would not consider that a review, right? Because they're looking for something else. But yeah, so I've kind of just given up on it, and I'm totally okay with it. Like, it doesn't need to be a thing. Number 6, for me, things need to be easy. I'm okay with average as long as they work. Like, I've just kind of discovered I don't need complex. I don't want complex. I want easy. And I'm okay if it's average, but it's got to work. If it doesn't work, I'm done, right? I got to move on. There's been plenty of things there's been plenty of products, I'm staring at one right now, that, like, just was too complicated. You're just like, yeah, I'm never going to get into this. And some guys do. And
Yeah.
and more power to you. But I like it easy. Mike, where do you land on that?
I was just about to say, I think this is where we complement each other a little bit. I like the complex, big, like for example, learning ham radio, like
Yeah.
learning that was something that took a lot of time. There's so much stuff. You have to take 3 tests to get into it, right? You got to go do all this stuff. Like I like that complexity. Um, Linux and all that stuff where it's just, and it's not super complex, but it's going to take some time and investment on my side. So I guess maybe I fall in the middle where extremely complex things, maybe not, but I do like a project where I'm like, this is going to be the next year of my life. Like I love, and like, this is going to be it.
Yeah.
Let's,
And
let's
it's
go.
different for everybody. One of the things, and Bust Out just says, that's how I feel when you guys talk about lawns. The variety we were able to bring here, though, we can, there may be a week you're not interested. Don't listen. It's okay. Like
Yeah.
you're not offending me. I don't get bothered by that. But there's going to be a week we're going to hit something, that you're interested in or whatever. We did a show a couple weeks ago and everybody was like, man, that was super great, and I had no idea. You just kind of like, oh, well, okay. Okay. So number 5, and this has kind of been a pandemic thing for me, but I've learned that I'm best with one-on-one conversation. Like even in this mode, I'm best when it's you and me or me and a guest. I'm
Yeah.
okay. Like when you're here, you really do. When we have a guest on, you almost like you take a back seat. You do it pretty well. You don't get mad, which I always appreciate. Like you're like, hey, I said like 4 words, and I'm like, yeah, sorry. We've talked about that post show. I've been like, dude, sorry. And you're like, no, it's okay.
I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I've just found for me, one-on-one is best.
Well, and I think the benefit of that is we're both that way. So I don't mind, like, and you're and you're a really good interviewer, right? So like when you said about you're doing this one-on-one thing, and I kind of throw in some stuff, I'm fine with that because I'm like, I'm not really good at a 2-on-1 situation either, where we're both trying to like make sure our questions line up and all that stuff. So,
but you bring some
I
good
love that.
detail. Yeah, don't get me wrong. Like I'll ask some general, I'll get it going. I can keep the conversation going, but you're pretty good at asking the question, the deeper, like, hey, let's get a little deeper on this thing, the more specific questions.
Nerd out a little bit.
Mostly because you've actually done it where I haven't, and that's for sure. I forget what number this is. I think we're on 4. My best work is when it's as automatic as possible.
Okay.
Like if I can set up systems, I tweet the weather every day. Like that's, by the way, my boss, I don't think he's listening to this. My boss thought I was doing that manually. He was like,
Did you really?
Yeah. He's like, I just couldn't believe you would tweet the weather at the
at the exact second, same second every single day.
It's an automated process.
Do you do a lot of automation on the production of the show after we're done?
Tons of it. Yeah. Tons. And it could be better because it's automated. There's some things that if I gave it a little personal TLC, it'd be better. But I'm better when it's automatic. That kind of stuff.
Got it.
I produce the show the exact same way, and I've been doing it the exact same way since maybe 200. I made some big changes with 200, and then I've kind of just done it the exact same way. I've varied some things. Show notes have come and gone. Some of those kinds of things I've moved around a little bit, but the more automatic, the better.
And I'm the same way, and I would equate automatic to process driven. If there is not a process for me, that work doesn't get done. And so like I need it to be part of my process. And it's the same thing with like, for example, at work, logging things in Salesforce. Like if I don't have a process for after the conversation, go log the information, what happened, it doesn't get in there. And so, that's where I struggle. And so I'm kind of the same way, automation process, whatever you want to call it. I like automation as well.
Brian says your average guy approach on the show always instills confidence to try to do new technology. And me too. I mean, that's why I do it. Cause otherwise I wouldn't do it.
Well, and Brian, okay. Like that, what you just said, that's probably my philosophy. And you just like it hit on my philosophy with everything I do, podcast, this show, my YouTube, Twitter. Like I almost want to tell people like, if this dumb guy like me can learn ham radio and do it and mess it up, and I've bricked a radio before, if I can build an Unraid server, if I can get Nextcloud installed and run my own cloud, and all this silly stuff, right? That some people might be like, that's the easiest thing ever. But hopefully it's like, no, like go mess around, go play with it. If you brick something, if you break it, it's not a big deal. So I love that you say that, Brian, because that's literally like my goal with everything I do.
Well, it's why I started the Average Guy Network. It just fit, like, because I thought the average guy, when it came to technology, was screwed, and it was like, hey, we can figure
Yeah.
this thing out together, and so it's worked pretty well.
God, Home Assistant has been a big example of that in my life.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
that is a deep application that you can get so into. And I'm living up here on the very surface, but man, I love that.
But you can be average on that thing, and it's okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I love
Yeah.
about it.
No,
It's like this buddy at work I got into it. He's like, well, it looks super complicated. I'm like, I know. And it can be if you want it to be, or you can
Yeah.
just scratch the surface and it
Yeah.
does a billion stuff really well.
for you pretty easily. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's pretty versatile.
Yeah.
Number 3, my family has really embraced the work that I do here and has supported me through the whole process. Yeah, I was talking to Sarah about this tonight. I read this top 10 list to her at dinner tonight. She's like, you just remember I let you do this for all these years.
Yeah.
And, I don't know if it's about letting, we don't really have that kind of relationship, but she definitely was okay that I was spending all this time. I think about all the meetups that we went to and all those, all those kinds of things. Sammy's embraced it. She loves it. She loves that her dad's a podcaster and is in media. She used that at school all the time. Like, my dad's a podcaster. And so much so that I went on campus to do some recruiting one time for technology, and she had all her friends come over. And
You're the media guy, Jim.
it's like, you got to meet my dad. Like, he's a podcaster. And so it was good.
Well, it's funny you say that because I just looked back up at the date I started, March 12th, 2015. That's 3 months after I got married. So I got married 3 months later, starting the show.
Yeah.
And I should probably go ask Anna, did you know that when I started the show 3 months after I got married, it would have been every Thursday for the next 6 years?
Yeah.
That we'd be doing it. And
I
think we were
kids and
have kids, go through all that phase of everything. And so it's been fun. I love it.
Well, good.
And I think we were talking about this before the show. We both have fantastic wives who allow us to, have these things in our life that we really go crazy on and have a lot of fun with.
Number 2, yes, for sure. For number 2, and this was Sammy. Sammy put this one on the list. I should build a studio that I can smoke cigars in. So I don't know. She's like,
it
Dad,
sounds to me like it's just a conversation with the wife to allow that in the current studio.
Yeah, well, no, that's never going to happen.
That's never going to happen.
So number 1 for me is you can make friends all over the world doing this. Like you alluded to this a few minutes ago, but I think about all the friends that I have made. I mean, I'm going to see Ed Sullivan, and I never would have met Ed without the show. I'm going to go spend a week with him in Boston and do some cigar stuff there. I think about the meetups that we've done, Mike, to get together, with folks, the friends we made, all the folks we've had on the show, just the friends that I've made. And I consider the listeners friends. And it's crazy how you can, you start by doing a podcast and you have all these friends, and people ask me all the time, well, how do you know him? Well, I have a show.
Yeah.
Yep. I have a show that I do. Really? Like, you're going all the way across the country. I drove 2 days to Boston last fall, and I'm like, yeah, that's what you do. That's what you do for friends. Right. And and you met him on the internet. Yeah. I met him in my show. Anyways, Mike, I think really, if anything, and this has been a reoccurring theme, it's you make friends.
You do.
It's been pretty good.
Yeah. Some of these, everyone in this community, especially the people who are interacting a lot, that I get to see the names and interact with. You guys are, some of my closest friends. You probably talk to me more than the most other people. So, which I love. And I know that this community, I can throw a question out there and you guys will be a great answer as far as tech goes within seconds. Like, these are, we have a smart community too, Jim. Like, our community is one that very knowledgeable, very sociable when it comes to helping people out. We've got gamers in here. We've got, I was thinking about this the other day, like I've played with Bust Out and about all these people, and it, it's just fun, right? Whether it's gaming or it's it's servers or, all that stuff. Everyone, Justin has the server side pretty much wrapped up, and Schoonover's always, got deals and technology. Like, it's just, everyone's got kind of this niche, and I wish I could name everyone and what their niche is, but that's just an example. Everyone's got their stuff. So very knowledgeable.
Yeah. Well, Brian says he never tried any home automation before watching or listening. Now he's countless plugs, lights, Alexas, those kinds of things. So yeah, we've all kind of done this together. Mike, you've influenced me. I've influenced you. We've influenced the community. The community's influenced us.
You're on a Mac and I'm on a Windows. So maybe it was a good time to just shut the show down, Jim.
That's true.
The tides have completely turned.
How that has happened.
You know what's even better? So when I set up my new ham shack over in the other corner from this desk, I was like, well, I need a computer to run my digital modes and my logging software. I put the iMac over there, but it's running Windows. It's because all the best, ham stuff's on Windows.
Parallels, using Parallels, or what do you use?
No, it's just straight. It's running bare metal with Boot Camp assisted. So it's Boot Camp. It's booting right into Windows.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. It's funny how that. I had somebody contact me the other day. I'd said something. They're like, "Hey, wait a minute, you're running Mac? Like, when did that happen?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And the goal was always
6 years after Uyghur joined. It was a long con.
It's a long play. The funny thing about about Mac is I started this journey to put this together so I couldn't tell what OS I'm on. Right. Remember, that was back in January. I was like, okay, if I'm going to do this, it's not about the operating system. It's about the functionality. We've pretty much got it there. Like, I don't think like, am I on Windows or am I on Mac? I think, okay, what do I need to do to get this done in this, like where I'm at, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe Windows is better, so I'll do this over here, or Mac's better, so I'm going to do it over here. They're just two tools, to be able to get this done. And I've really liked it. I love having this M1 in here, and we'll see what's coming next. I think I may upgrade when the M2 comes out. I'm not gonna lie, it's
really that good. Wow.
Dude, it's a great machine. Like, it is for what I do.
Yeah.
Zippy, fast, never boots, never reboot. Like, it's pretty great.
That's perfect.
So, one that didn't make the list that should have, and I kind of thought about it after I put 10 together, and I couldn't really fit it in. So we'll call this 1B. Is work's made me a better podcaster. I go back and look. I didn't start podcasting at work until 2013, 2014. And we'd started in 2010. And I go back and I watch my progression get better, and it gets significantly better after I start podcasting at work. And it just made me a better podcaster. It gave me more reps, gave me more opportunities to talk, made me a better interviewer, gave me more perspective, fixed the way I talk and my cadence. It's better. So I got to give Gallup a lot of credit for taking a chance on me and allowing me to do. I've done triple the podcast. I mean, I've done easily 1,500 podcasts at Gallup in the time. Easily.
Well, that's what always baffles me is we get to Thursday night, and most weeks you'll say, I've done like, how many shows do you do in a week? 4?
Yeah, during the pandemic it was 4 easily.
Right. And you're 4. Like, I've already done 4 shows. And and a lot of times those were stacked. It seemed to me, at least, you're like, oh, the last 2 days I've done 4. Yeah. So this is my 5th show in the last 2 days. The last 48 hours is my 5th show. I'm like, I don't know how you're doing
it. Was nuts. It was nuts. And I did one Monday morning this week. Monday morning,
throat lozenges and stuff like that. So
well, smoking doesn't help with that. Yeah. I have to, and
that gives you the cool raspy radio voice, right?
Yeah, maybe. But the creamy beer is not helping either right now at this point. I should have brought some water down here. Beer is not advisable when you're podcasting, but I'm not going to give it up. Like just this week, early Monday morning I did one. I did one Monday night out of Sydney, Australia, and then I did another. I was supposed to do on Tuesday morning, so that would have been 3 and 24 hours. I recorded one, not live, last night. I was a producer and interviewer for one I did last night. So that's a pretty slow week. I'll do one Friday. Is tomorrow Friday?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got one tomorrow.
Today's my Friday. I'm excited. So
crap. That's tomorrow already. So, work's made me better at this. And it's kind of allowed me to do more on less. And so it's been a great it's been a great run, Mike. Thanks again for sitting in on 300-ish of these with me.
Yeah.
As I was going back, I just kept seeing your face, and I was like, holy cow. I thought it was like 250 or 260 or 270, something like that, to have you go all the way back to 206, 206, 206. I got to remember that too, because I'm always at, when did you start? When did you join me? Mike,
Well,
anything else you want to throw in on that list? Anything that you'd want to add?
no, I think that's a perfect list because I kind of inject myself a little bit into all those and kind of think of where I'm at. In my 294 episodes, I think really what I've learned is just kind of the just how broad this space really is, and how you don't know what you don't know. I think would be probably one of mine. You don't know what you don't know, right? I talk about that a lot at work, which is a lot of times when you first get into an industry, when you first get into a career, you think you know everything, and there are some things you know that you don't know. You're like, oh, I don't know that topic, and then all of a sudden, after your first 2 years in a new career, you're just like, I didn't even know what I didn't know, right? Like there were so many things out there that I didn't even know I was an expert on. And that's what I've really learned. And that's been so much fun for me. Like I thought Mac was just the only way to go, Jim. Like Windows users were just, oh, they're just stupid people who haven't seen the light yet, right? In that kind of mindset. And just when you really start to dive into this, it's been fun. Just there's so many aspects of everything that you can get into, and so many different, and every OS is fantastic and a great choice. And I don't know, I have a lot of fun with that side of things. It's just having your eyes opened to everything in the tech world.
Yeah, for sure. And Mike, I love tech. Like I love new things. I love that the early days of things. I
Yeah.
love being out there when nobody else is out there. And this gives us an opportunity to do it and to talk about it,
Yep.
and to have some things. I don't always explain it the best. I'm not always the most thorough. I confuse people all the time, but I sure have fun doing it. So I want to say, if you've listened this far, thanks for going along. Some of you have been with us since day one. Some of you have just joined in the last couple weeks, maybe, or last couple months, maybe.
I would
But
love to know the people who have actually been here since day one. If you've been a day one person, put that in Discord or something. I'd like,
yeah,
or it would be fun to just post when you started listening. Yeah, I don't
yeah,
know, and that would be hard for probably a lot of people to know
some
when they
people
started listening.
remember.
But I
Yeah.
would love to know. Are there people out there who only know me as your co-host? Like, there's got to
For
be, right?
sure,
There's
for
got to be people
sure.
who only picked up the show
The
in the last
majority, I bet.
294
Yeah,
episodes,
I bet the
and
majority.
they're like, who's Christian? Like, why do you keep bringing these guys on? I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah. No, like, yeah, exactly. Like now, Christian, we mention him every week, right? So most know or have figured it out by now, but it's just, it's crazy to think how long, it's been.
Yeah,
And
6
so
years.
if you've made it this late in the podcast, thanks for doing that. Jump over to Discord, theaverageguy.tv/Discord, and jump in there with us if you haven't done that yet. And Michael start something in the general section like, when do you think you started listening? It'd be kind of fun to do that when we get it posted. Couple reminders on the way out. One, if you want to join the kind of the financial team, the finance team here, the board of directors, so to speak. I've never called them that, and don't think you have any say on these kinds of things. But head out to theaverageguy.tv/Patreon. No, I value what you say, and we try to do everything to meet that. But if you want to join the financial support team, theaverageguy.tv/Patreon, and we've got a $5 plan out there. I'll send you a little button. This would be a good time to get one of those. Ron has made me a bunch, and I could send those to you, and we can get that going as well. If you want to leave us a voicemail message, and you can do that as well, send that and record at homegadgetgeeks.com. Do me a favor, send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv, after you've recorded that. The email from Podpage is not always getting to me. So if you would, if you do that as well, but homegadgetgeeks.com, you can record a 30-second message. Just love to hear from you. If you'd like to do that, we'll play that on the next week's show, and we'll get it done that way. Of course, you can always send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv. We thank Christian for his, 500 episodes of support for Home Gadget Geeks. He's been there the whole time and the whole way at Maple Grove Partners. You can still get secure, reliable, high-speed hosting from people that you know and you trust. And of course, that's Christian. You can get that at Maple Grove Partners. Just go to maplegrovepartners.com. Plans start as little as $10. If you need hosting for something, you can't do it much cheaper or secure or better than that. So get it done. There's always cheaper, but Christian's way better. So head out there, maplegrovepartners.com. I think we'll wrap 500, Mike. I think we've made it through. You're out next week. I'm trying to see if I can get Schoonover on next week. I haven't checked my email, Kevin. So if you can come on next week or the week after, we have some open stuff. Or I'll take a week off. It's not a I made it to 500. I can retire basically at this point. So I'm good. I don't have to do anything. So we are live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, almost every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, out here at theaverageguy.tv/live. Thanks for your support. Over 500 episodes. We'll be back next week or the week after, something like that, with 501. And thanks for coming out. For those that are listening live, thanks for coming out tonight. We'll do a smidgen of post show. With that, we'll say goodbye, everybody. Well, we got to get out to the Bay Area because Bust Out says the first round's on him.
I know, and Bust Out, I saw your message I was actually just catching up on Discord. I saw your message. I was out there for all of 2 hours last week. We went to Sacramento for breakfast, flew into San Jose, did a lunch for 2 hours. No, sorry, a dinner for 2 hours, and then flew down to LA that night because we were doing an LA event. So I was only there for 2 hours, and we were went to the event and got out, or else we would have. And then Brian, was this so Brian says that he started about 3 years ago, listened to Open Mic Night back in the day, and you had me as a guest. That was Red Button Jam Fest, wasn't it? You got it, man. I forgot my own theme song until you just brought that up. Was that Red Button Jam Fest, Brian? Was that the name of it? I'm trying to remember what the name of that your show was. I think that was it. Red Button Jam Fest. Yeah, pretty sure. Man, Open Mic Night. That's
so the reason I remember that is because I actually watch a YouTuber that uses that same music. Thing. Yeah. Exact same thing. Exactly.
It was in GarageBand back in the day. Oh, and it was one of those common GarageBand little jingles.
So he's probably using iMovie to make his. I bet he's using iMovie to make his videos and then post them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the one. Okay.
Listen, the guy, this guy that uses it has actually quit his full-time job and is just doing YouTube full-time.
Which one?
Outdoors with the Morgans.
Okay.
Is one of the ones I watch. So Jim Shoemaker, you could ask people that come to Omaha for a meetup to bring cans. Oh yeah, of their local beer and have a big exchange. Yes. Could we do that? Can we bring alcohol on? Okay. All right.
It's a bar up top. Our top floor of our building, the corner where the patio is.
I got to go see this place.
We have taps in there, and those. So our executives' favorite beers. It's actually Brickway is their favorite. So we have Brickway on tap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty great. Hope the meetup is during my spring break. It's already become a thing.
Or let's do
we're
it.
Definitely gonna do it. Hope the meetup's during
spring break works great. Let's do that.
Yeah, we should shoot for the spring. Should start planning on that. Yeah, get some. Where in Omaha is the new Carson building?
152nd and Dodge.
Oh, there's some hotels out there, isn't there?
Oh yeah. Well, and by spring, they might not be fully done yet. So it's in that Heartland Preserve area. So we're the first building to go up. Well, and who's the other company?
That you second. So you're this side of Village Point. You're my side of Village Point.
That's 180th.
Right.
But yes, so you know where Boys Town is?
Yeah.
Right across the street.
Oh, okay, got it.
So
they're doing a lot of building in Boys Town, right? Didn't they sell that property off and they're doing some?
That's where we are.
Oh,
so right across. Where they
it.
where they demolished all that stuff. That's that field.
Okay,
that's where we're at.
Okay. Yeah, so people not happy about that.
I know.
How can you destroy Boys Town, right?
But I mean, it was a field at that point.
Right. It had a farm. It was a farm, right? I think it was a farm field.
So I mean, technically, we're in between 150. We're 144th is really where it's at.
Yeah, but there's the ample hotel stuff out there.
Oh yeah, yep. They can come stay out there.
Yeah, no, that'll be great. We'll pick a date and start driving. I need to come out and see the facility.
Yep.
Start driving towards it. That's cool. That's super cool. Any other thoughts, guys? Any from the chat room? Anything else? Maybe if you're just thinking about moments from the podcast, or maybe what have you learned from the podcast, since we kind of ended with that. BT, Jim? I remember missing BT. What was BT? Oh, Boys Town.
Oh, Boys Town. Yeah.
Jim was saying, yeah, I remember visiting Boys Town. It was very interesting. Yeah. Man, the old timers, like, which wasn't that long ago, like the 80s, maybe 90s. Boys Town was way out west. Like, like you're going, the Dodge interchange or that Dodge Expressway wasn't in yet, and like you're going way out west. And I remember, West Side Community Church and a couple churches moved out there, and like, there's nobody out there. Like,
well, even like 72nd, like when my dad was at UNO, that was West Dodge High was like the joke. I was like West Dodge was 72nd, like they referred to as West. Like, I know. Yeah, well, out there.
It has really grown out there, and and there's so much stuff along Dodge there.
Yep.
Now, and so many homes out in Westo. You're way out there.
Yeah.
You're way out on the west end.
Yep.
You're a Westie.
Which is funny because I'm not even as far west as they can go now.
No,
further.
No, Lincoln and Omaha will be
will
be one. I remember seeing an old plan from like the 60s or 70s that was like this master plan for Lincoln and Omaha, and it had them coming together. They were going to put this rail in between the cities. There was going to be kind of light rail in between the two. That not crescent, but there was a ski area out there off of 80. There's kind of a mountain. It's not very big, but kind of a mountain. And there was like a ski area there. They were going to move the airport out to between Omaha and Lincoln so it could share the airport.
Really? Well, that would make sense.
Yeah. Zorinsky, the big lake, was originally going to be like 4 times bigger. Or something like that. They had this big, gigantic rec area plan. I mean, it was in the days of engineering when they didn't really know how to do any of this stuff, but they could dream big. So they would be like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna have jet aircraft that fly supersonic speeds. How are you gonna do that?" Well, we don't know yet, but we know the military does it. Yeah, but that just has a single pilot in it. You're talking about a airline, this is 50s, late 50s, early 60s, right? And it's like, oh yeah, we're going to do it for sure. So all their plans are just bizarre world when you start, because they were planning all these things. And then it's like, yeah, none of this stuff actually happened.
Right.
Let's see. Jim said, or Brian says, speaking of growth, I think census info came out today. Need to see the breakdown of demographic changes over the last 10 years, even down to individual cities. I tell you what's going to be interesting, and I wonder if the census captured this, but just the move that COVID has caused. People moving out of cities, New York, San Francisco, Portland, Seattle. Kind of the move LA. And folks are moving to Colorado and Arizona and Nebraska and Iowa. Jim said, eventually the Concorde came along.
Yeah.
It was kind of a wreck, kind of literally didn't do very well. I mean, it was okay, but it was a little testy, like the shuttle. I mean, I kind of put the Concorde and the shuttle in the same, like, you just kind of crossed your fingers and kind of hoped, is it going to come back? Is it going to land? I sure hope so, kind of thing. Have you seen the new Starship? Like Elon's Starship now has the tiles on it.
I haven't kept up with any of that.
Oh, no. Man, it's holy
just Googling
cow.
After this.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. It's certainly an easier design. Starship is an easier design to tile than the space shuttle was. Right?
Okay.
The space shuttle had like 134 different areas that had to be accounted for with different size tiles. Starship is less than that, whatever that.
When you say tiles, are these like solar tiles?
The heat shield tiles that you have to have when they come in, right? So half of the you've seen Starship, just a big rocket, and then
Yeah.
it floats down, right?
Right.
So the bottom half is tiled, heat shield, and the top half isn't, right? It's stainless steel. And so it's just an interesting, that thing is freakishly huge.
Hmm.
Like, I mean, it just, and then I think for the first time a couple days ago, they put it on the booster, and the booster has like 29 engines or something like that on it. And Mike, I can't imagine, it's bigger than the Saturn V now.
Okay.
I can't imagine. So I've watched movies of, the Soviets tried to do this with a big rocket. When we were going to space, they could never develop an engine that was as powerful as what was in the Saturn V. So their answer was to put, more engines in there. So they launched one, and I think it had 20 or 30 engines in it. You can see it on YouTube, and the thing blows up spectacularly. Like, it gets off the launch pad and then doesn't, and then it levels the levels the facility, basically, because they've got all this fuel. I mean, they were going to get to space in this thing. Essentially, it was secret. We didn't know about it at the time, but it essentially ended the Soviet Union space program. This thing blew up, and they kind of went, okay, we're done. Like, we're not going to do this anymore. We're just not going to get to the moon. And but the Starship booster is a little reminiscent of that. So if you go, if you're interested, go watch the last Soviet rocket to the moon. Look at that thing, and then go look at the new booster for Starship. By the way, the fins, the thing's coming back. So this isn't like, the thing is coming back. And so the fins for it, on the today on the Heavy, the fins are down, and then when the thing it separates, the fins come out and guide it back in. They stay permanently out, and they're driven by Tesla motors. So
That's crazy.
Yeah, Tesla batteries and Tesla motors are what drive these fins. Like, that's cool.
That's really cool.
It's like, dang, it all makes sense now.
Right? Yeah. No kidding.
Yeah. Joe also says the Soviet Union had a shuttle program too. They built 2 shuttles and ripped off. I mean, they're nearly identical, because NASA gave. Listen, when the space shuttle was built, there was an era of openness, and they pretty much just gave away most of the plans for the space shuttle. It was not a secret for the most part. So the Soviet Union just copied it. Never launched them. They're sitting today. I think they're in like Kazakhstan. They're in a in a bay, just rotting. And again, you can go to YouTube and watch videos on them, and they never really got that. That was they were trying to. They're like, well, if we can't go to the moon, at least maybe we can make a shuttle. Because the U.S. shuttle was designed for military purposes first. Like,
okay,
the whole design of the shuttle was, can it carry military payloads?
Got it. Okay.
And if it can carry the Hubble and some other things in the process,
that's cool too.
That's dandy. But it was definitely built. I mean, the military had this heavy influence on making sure they could get the right satellites in space. Tons of shuttle missions we don't know anything about. I mean, we know they launched, but they're like, well, yeah, there might be some payload in there. Maybe. Everybody knew what they were launching. Come on. So super fascinating. Super fascinating. I think, Mike, if you've disengaged from what's going on with SpaceX, follow the next couple months or next year as they get this Starship and its booster tested, because that is a freaking monster. And I think they're gonna blow up at least one. So you're gonna want to
pay attention.
You're gonna want to pay attention.
Okay.
Like, I mean, you can always watch it after the fact, because it's gonna be awesomely filmed from every angle.
Of course,
they're gonna blow up at least one, and it's gonna be awesome. But that just the amazing, just the amount of thrust that rocket will have is just incredible. Just
That'll be
incredible.
cool.
It's kind of fun. So, guys, thanks for coming out tonight. Thanks for celebrating 500 with us. We'll figure out Schoonover. I wonder if he emailed me back. We will be back, I hope, next week. I'll figure out something. Oh, yeah. He says he's out next week. I'll figure out something. It's 5:01. I can do anything I want. So we'll see you guys. We'll see you guys next week. I'll figure out a show. Maybe I'll have Sammy on. Maybe I'll bring. Maybe it's time to bring her on. Tonight would have been a good night too. We'll see you guys next week. Take care.